But if you listen to last week's episode, I talked about time. And time is one thing that you can't make up. Yep, you can make more money, but you cannot craft and create more time. And so the only thing with that is that you may miss out on a great opportunity to save money for your own retirement, right? Because time is ticking every day. To be able to take advantage of your company match, if your company matches your 401k in any way, and to take advantage of, once again, time and compounding interest that could help grow your money.
You're listening to God Can I Hold a Dollar, the podcast brought to you from Reset Budgeting and Financial Coaching with Janine Victor McDade, owner and principal consultant. The podcast that bridges real world conversations, no shame, no shade, and the word of Christ all in one.
Hello, resetters. Hey, Janine here. I hope you all have had a great week and that you are looking forward to the weekend. We started off this journey with me saying, hey, I'm going to go ahead and make this a 3-part series. This is going to end up being a 4-part series because digging into these 20 tips, man, I want to keep these episodes, no longer than, 20, 25 minutes, definitely no longer than 30 minutes, but it's getting meaty. So we're going to extend this to 4 episodes for this series because there's a lot of good stuff that we can talk about. There's still a lot of good, valuable tips Dave has, but there's also some things I want to qualify. We're talking about tips that have been given over a 20 plus year for Dave Ramsey. And just want to flip them for you through my perspective, through my living, through my experience, and hoping that some of that resonates with y'all. So once again, I hope you all have had a great week. Um, yeah, Patelco. Goodness. If you haven't heard, I mentioned it in the last episode, Patelco went through a very significant ransomware attack that has frozen monies and access and everything. So, staying posted on that. By the time this episode comes out, I really, really hope that everything is taken care of, that I can actually look in my bank account and see the money that's supposed to be there. I'm really hoping for the best, but once again, God handles all, God rules all, God will take care of it. And so I'm not going to fret. All right, well, let's jump right on in, y'all. We left off with tips 1 through 6 with the last episode. If you missed that, stop this one. Go ahead and listen to last week's episode. Jump on back in here with us for this one. So this will be part 2. We're going to cover steps 7 through 12. And, if you're just joining for the first time, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Sit down, grab your beverage, take a seat, or if you're driving, you're walking, you're exercising. Thank you for deciding to come on over to my little corner of the podcast world and take a listen. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope that you get value out of the time that you're going to spend with me today. We're talking about Dave Ramsey, and over the 20 plus years that I personally have been exposed to Dave Ramsey, um, between him and Susie Orman. Dave was one that you saw on TV a lot. We're talking early 2000s, right? You saw on TV. His faith-based products are still circulating today. A lot of churches subscribe to Dave Ramsey's Money Makeover series and things of that nature. And so I'm looking back at my 2000, 2003, 2005 broke, depressed, busted, no car having self. Uh, and when I first embarked on learning about money, I've always had money, but when I first embarked on being dedicated to learn about money, to being dedicated to change my behaviors, to do some of the tips and principles that I was hearing that the Dave Ramseys and the Susie Ormans, of the world at that time, which were kind of the louder voices, were subscribing. The Lynette Calfani, Cox's, and when she was able to get some airtime because she looked like me, um, anything I could glean from to change my situation, to change my credit score, to change the fact that I was always looking into my bank account and seeing negatives because I just was not tracking my money well. Not that I wasn't making decent money at the time. By that time, I had a pretty decent job, but I just was overextending myself and paying the banks like these exorbitant amount of overdraft fees. So much that I think I told you all before, so much that one year I totaled up like how much in overdrafts have I paid US Bank? And it was shy of $1,400. So could have absolutely used $1,400 in a whole different way. And so really taking accountability of myself, my spending, my mindset was what started it all. So I'm reflecting back. I'm thinking about my 2000, 2005, 2010, what have you, self. By 2010, actually, I had kind of got it together. So let's say like my late 1990s to early 2000s self. And do I still agree with some of these tips that Dave Ramsey has given over the years? So we are picking right up on tip number 7. And tip number 7 from Dave Ramsey per the budgetsmadeeasy .com site, the blog that I'm reading where this particular blogger is revisiting these tips as well. Number 7 she has is pay off debt as fast as you can using the debt snowball. That is absolutely one that I still subscribe to today with a caveat. So if you haven't heard about the debt snowball, if you think about what a snowball is, right? You have, this packed snow and ice and you throw snowballs. And so the premise behind the debt snowball is that you start to, put quote unquote your snowball money together and you throw this money at your debt. And when you pay off one debt, the money or the quote unquote snow from that debt that's now no longer due, you add it to the minimum payment that you were paying on another debt. And so your snowball gets bigger and you throw that amount of money at the debt. And then when you pay that off, your snowball gets bigger. And so you literally are looking at your debts in a strategic way and you are throwing money at it. And specifically, you are throwing money at the principal. If you are paying anything past your minimum payment, you should be throwing extra money at the principal balance that you owe. Now, the difference with how I use the debt snowball is with my clients, we look at either are we doing a debt snowball or are we doing a debt avalanche? And that all depends on the person, right? So thinking about yourself, that depends on you. That depends on um, how motivated you can stay for the long haul. Do you like to see early wins or do you like to see money saved? And so that depends on what approach we take. If I'm working with a client one on one, and what one on one looks like with me is that that client works with me every 2 weeks for 3 months. It takes 21 days to create a habit. And so we focus on mindset, we focus on where these debts came from. Is there any opportunity that these debts were accounted for, unnecessarily? Is there opportunity to get rid of some of these debts, take back some clothing, things like that we dig into. But I also have all of your debt, all of your statements. You send all of those things to me. They are protected and guarded. And I take a look at all of your debt across the board. I look at your interest rate, I look at your minimum payments, I look at your spending habits. I forensically dissect your spending habits per debt. And based on what I see from a bird's eye view, as well as a fine tooth magnified view from both angles, I can recommend the best way to go about attacking your debt and being able to keep you encouraged and stay, committed to the process for the long haul. So that's the difference between using the debt snowball using the debt avalanche. The debt snowball is one of the most popular because what most people do is with the snowball, they pay off the debts with the smallest balance, not the highest interest rate. Now, what does this mean? For folks that need to see some early wins, well, if you start with a small balance, you're going to pay that off much faster than if you have a card or a debt that has a large balance and a high interest rate. So the trade off is if you just want to see some wins and you want to see some debt start to melt away, great. If that is your motivator, the debt snowball method is for you. But if you want to save money in the long run, if you would rather tackle the debt that's charging you the most in interest, we look at that aspect as well. That's a long game. And some people really need to see those small wins in order to stay motivated and keep it going. So that's the only caveat. I absolutely use the debt snowball to this day. It has become very popular, very commercial. But we also take a look at the avalanche. So it really does matter and depend upon the client. It depends upon their whole, complete, holistic picture and what they are willing to do. All right. Tip number 8, use sinking funds. I don't know if you all know what sinking funds are on here. That's become a popular term in the last few years. But, think about probably what some of y'all already do today, what maybe big mama, grandmother, used to do is you just tucked money away. And so what sinking funds are, it's a way of saving for certain expenses that don't come up every month, right? You're talking about your Christmas, you're talking about tucking a little money away to make sure that the maintenance on your vehicle is taken care of. Uh, a vacation fund, birthdays, gifts, things of that nature. Things that you can tuck a little bit of money away every pay period or every month. These are not, envelopes or what have you that you would have in your binder if you were doing cash-based budgeting that you would carry around with you. These are tucked away at the house. And you just add a little something, something to them every time that you get paid or every time that you get some money. And it starts to accumulate. Most of these funds may have a goal amount. So, for example, if you want to have a really, really great Christmas, somebody might have a $5,000 goal for Christmas. That's something you would start saving for in January. Vehicle maintenance. We have an SUV. We have our little bucket that we're like, man, we ain't letting go of this until she physically talks to us and says it's my time. But there's vehicle maintenance, and sometimes that's not 69.99 for an oil change. It's, $700, $800, and so you tuck things away. For me, one of my sinking funds is DMV. DMV can be something else. And so my sinking fund is, Christmas. Now, I personally have a Christmas CD with, with Patelco, with my bank, and so that's where I account for sinking funds there. But I absolutely have a vehicle maintenance, sinking fund. Property taxes sinking fund is a part of my savings account. I have a gift envelopes, I have birthdays, I have vacation, I have all the things that are listed on this particular blog. And it's pretty painless. You might tuck $5 here, a couple of $3, $4 here, $20 here, whatever you can do. And you would just be amazed when you look back maybe a few months later at how much you actually have accumulated because it's in cash and you're not touching it. Right? So these are things that you wanna plan for. The worst thing to do is, because you can have a sinking fund for your garbage if that's every 2 months, like ours are. The worst thing to do is to have a couple of months of payments hit your bank account unexpectedly. Insurance sometimes can be that way if you've got a 6-month plan or something of that nature. So those are what you call sinking funds. A lot of y'all been doing this a long time, or your family members have been tucking money away for certain events or whatever. The new name now we call is sinking funds. You sink some money into those particular envelopes and put them away. All right. Saving for these things is important because if you don't save for it, the money is going to disappear and it will not be there when you need it. So, guess what? Can't miss Christmas. Right? I'm talking out of, some of y'all heads here. Well, I can't not do Christmas. I gotta get my kids something. I gotta do this. So if you don't have the money, where are you going to get it from? 9 times out of 10, folks are going to pull out that credit card. And then we're going to start this whole deprecating situation another year in January when these charges start to hit. And the reality after the tree has been put outside, the wrapping paper has been thrown away. The reality is now I have all this debt on my credit card. So sinking funds lets you plan. All right. Plan for the future. All right, number 9, save 3 to 6 months of expenses. This came up with the baby steps, and it's one that I absolutely apply to. I even recommend a little bit more depending upon your lifestyle, depending upon what your expenses are, even where you live. So, for example, I could probably get away with saving $1,000 if I lived in like St. Louis or something like that in regards to like a mortgage or rent. But living in the Bay Area in California, that no, that's not that's not gonna fly, right? I know there's some mortgages or rents that are going for 4,000 plus a month for some people. So 3 to 6 months of expenses, it's an investment. It's definitely a challenge for some. But why do we do that? Well, y'all, take a look at the economy right now. Like, take a look at the job market right now. There is um, not the same sense of stability that there used to be back in the day. I mentioned on here before that I worked at AT&T, and T, and for a very, very, very long time, because I was there so long, I really only focused on retirement. My goal was to retire from AT&T because that's kind of just what you did. You worked for the phone company. Some people started right out of high school or before, right, in this kind of like high school work study program, and then they just stayed after graduation. But, that was the going thing. You got into the phone company, and that's where you stayed, and, you became a part of this bubble, where, whatever the advances were or what have you, because everyone else around you was getting the same kind of advances, that felt normal. And then you stayed 30, 35 years, some people 40 plus years. You stayed until you retired. And then, luckily for most old timers, myself included, you got a pension, right? Your 401k was vested, you had some kind of match, and some people had their medical expenses taken care of. So there were definitely some payoffs, to staying and retiring. But nowadays, if you look at the landscape, I mean, everybody is doing layoffs. They are cutting. I don't know if this is um, the rolling effect of COVID and what 2020 brought us. But it's a reality, and it's been a reality for quite a few years now. And so 3 to 6 months of expenses hasn't been more important than I think now, so that you have an opportunity to manage your stress, because nothing brings on stress than not having no money. Okay. Nothing brings on more stress than stressing about how you're going to pay X amount of bills, how you're going to keep the lights on, how you're going to keep groceries in the refrigerator, especially as a parent. That's a bad place to be. And so this at least buys you some time to not stress, to think about the specifics, right? What can I shave off right now that isn't necessarily a necessity? But this 3 to 6 months is going to stretch to meet our needs, not necessarily our wants in this time frame until I find another job. And that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to cover you and guide you to be able to cover expenses when your income is not able to do so. So this is your buffer, right? If you lose your job, you have a major illness, there's some type of emergency, there is something in place that you can lean on that's liquid and be able to keep yourself afloat. Really, really good one from Dave Ramsey on that one as well. Save 3 to 6 months of expenses. Number 10, act your wage. And that was wage, not age. Act your wage. Um, she talks about a quote that Dave often says. She says, Dave often says to act your wage and to stop spending like you are in Congress. And basically that's live within your means, okay? Act your wage, live within your means, however you all want to, interpret that. That is a hard one sometimes. Once again, we got Instagram, we have Facebook, we have all of these different things that are influencing what we think is normal and what we should have versus what we do have. And so this is one to remind us to stop trying to keep up with the Joneses and the Thomases and the Smiths and what have you, and to find that contentment and gratitude with what you have and where you are. Whether it be your small one bedroom, your studio, whether it be your 3 and 4 bedroom, but you want 6 and 8 and 3 bathrooms, be content with where you are. This will help you not overextend yourself. And then you sometimes got to ask yourself, well, who am I overextending myself for? So that's that whole mindset conversation. Well, why do I want a BMW? Is it a status symbol? Is it just it's something I really have wanted? I like the quality of the car. I like the engine. Why is it that you want some of these things if in essence you really can't afford it? Or even if you can, to just be really mindful of knowing who are you impressing? Is it for you or is it for everyone else? So manage your money well now, act your wage. As Dave says, just, be content and manage what you have. I'm a firm believer based on the word that when God can trust you with a little and he can trust you with what he's put in your hand, and you are a good steward over what he has put in your hand, whether that be your actual physical tangible money and the 90% that he leaves you after the Lord's tithes, or your gifts, your talents. If he can trust you with being responsible and using those things, then he will give you more and he will entrust you with more. And so I will leave that there. All right. Number 11, stop using debt. Real clear. Stop using them credit cards. Stop using those lines of credit. Now, Dave says even if you get rewards, I got a caveat there. It's very small. If we're talking about the individual person, if you are just someone who doesn't have a business, work a 9 to 5, mom, dad, pop, what have you, then yeah, I would definitely say stop using your debt, stop using your credit cards um, for purchases. And especially if it's rewards, because you all know that's the carrot, right? Like that's the cheese to the mouse. Oh, I can get these rewards, I can get these points, I can get these free flights, I can get this, I can get that. And then before you know it, you've got a huge credit card bill. And you gotta pay these bills, you don't even have enough money to go anywhere. Maybe you have a free ticket or what have you, but who's gonna pay the hotel? Who's going to pay the food? There's some other expenses and it may not jive, but you got a free ticket to go somewhere. All right, so you gotta think about those things and put those things together. Now, the only caveat I will say to that is, if you own a business. If you own a business, if you have to travel, there are some perks that could be worth utilizing your company card for expenses. But not everyone who's listening to this is going to fall into that. That would be my only caveat to using credit cards. And if you are using the credit cards, even if you own your own business, you want to charge what you can pay off at the end of the month. That's for everyone. Don't charge what will be carried over as much as you possibly can. What's in bold print on this site is there is a reason credit card companies give you rewards. They know marketing and they know you will spend more. Right. Credit card companies, they are not trying to be nice. They are not giving you things free because they like you. They are doing it because they are really good at marketing. They are excellent at dangling the carrot and getting your attention and getting your business. And they know that if they can get you on a credit card and you spending on that credit card, you are going to have a long relationship with them, especially if you're only paying the minimum payment. So that's the only caveat. If you're an individual, if you're a person who does not own a business, stop using your credit cards, stop using debt, stop using your line of credit. It is only going to get you deeper and deeper and deeper into debt. But if you are a business owner, I would even still be cautious Be very clear. Read all of your paperwork if you're going to be establishing a credit card for your business and use it responsibly. All right. Number 12, do not buy new cars. We talked about this. I took this one to heart years and years and years ago. Um, it The first line says, "Buying a new car is a great way to waste a lot of money as soon as you drive it off the lot." That has stuck with me. As much as I would love a new car and I want a new car, I just have not been able to bring myself to buy one because I know logically what happens. I know logically that I am burning through money or I will be burning through money buying a new car. And, so here's some cool little tidbits that she shares on the site in regards to this, Dave Ramsey tip. The average new car loses 20% in value in the first 12 months. It says most millionaires buy 2 to 3 year old vehicles. So millionaires aren't even rolling around in brand new cars. I believe that. I believe that. It says a used car is not dangerous just because it's used. A car only 2 to 3 years old is still safe and a much better value than a brand new car. I will testify to that. Anytime it's time for us to look for a car, I immediately look used. I immediately look at cars that have been gently used. Maybe they've been a part of like a business or part of a fleet or something of that nature. I'm a little leery on cars that have been rental cars because y'all know out there cousins be just dogging the rental cars because it's not theirs. I personally wouldn't recommend purchasing a rental car as your own vehicle. I've not had a good experience in doing that, but there's some other avenues to be able to do that. And I have, my truck that's outside, um, it had 13,000 miles on it, 2020. It's been a good buy thus far and accommodates our family, but it wasn't new, it was used. So that one I'm going to leave to you. In my heart of hearts, I would love to be able to buy a new car at least once in my life. My mother says everyone should just have that experience at least once in their life. And gotta be okay with losing that 20% value, maybe once in my life. But honestly, y'all, used cars have been my way to go. They just really have. All right. And last but not least, before we close out this episode, number 13 is save 15% at least for retirement. Now, I talked about this, I think, a couple of episodes ago, not even thinking about Dave Ramsey, of how realistic this is, because this is a personal measurement that you're going to have to take. Now, the blog and the tidbit here says once you are debt free, except the mortgage, and have your emergency fund fully funded, then you get to start investing. Now, I would recommend something a little bit different because to get debt free, depending upon how much debt that you have, you could have $50,000, $60,000 worth of credit card debt, just depending upon your own personal situation. You may need to fully fund a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. But once again, you live in the Bay Area. And so a 3 to 6 month emergency fund could very well be 40, 50, $60,000, depending upon your living situation and what have you, your family situation. It says then you get to start investing. My only concern with that is those things take a while to do. Overnight, you're not going to be debt free. There's some work that has to go into that. There's planning, there's strategy, and how you're going to eradicate debt. And that could be a year or more, depending upon your own personal financial situation. But if you listen to last week's episode, I talked about time. And time is one thing that you can't make up. Yep, you can make more money, but you cannot craft and create more time. And so the only thing with that is that you may miss out on a great opportunity to save money for your own retirement, right? Because time is ticking every day. To be able to take advantage of your company match, if your company matches your 401k in any way, and to take advantage of, once again, time and compounding interest that could help grow your money. Now, are you going to jump out the gate and put 15% and you still have a lot of these other things undone that you need to pay off? No, but you can start somewhere. My recommendation is if you do have debt that you need to pay off, I still would recommend investing at least minimal in your 401k. Let that money come automatically out of your check. Maybe start with 5% or 8% or something that won't feel jarring when it's taken out of your gross pay, and or whatever percentage your company will match. So if your company matches, 6% of your um, uh, deposits or your contribution, then make sure that that 6% is in there, and then work with the rest of what you have left of paying off debt and what have you. That would be my only caveat is, you may lose out on time. That could be thousands of dollars if it takes you 2 or 3 or 4 years or what have you to completely eradicate all of your debt except your mortgage and fully fund your emergency fund. That could be a ton of time that your money could be growing for you. So that's my only critique of number 13 is absolutely get to the point where you are saving 15% for retirement. You are putting your 15 in, you're maximizing it. If you are of a certain age, you also have an opportunity to actually contribute just a little bit more as a catch up. Look and investigate all those things. Make sure that you talk to your financial advisor of what's the best way I can go about still contributing to my 401k, but also, paying down some debt. Or there's some things that I'm invested in that could be helpful with that. That's a totally valid conversation to have with your financial advisor. But, you know, don't lose that time, y'all. That time is precious and valuable. So do what you can to work with the time that you got. All right, y'all. Well, that is 7 through 13 of the 20 best pieces of advice Dave Ramsey has given over the years. So, thank you all for tuning in. I hope my take and my commentary has been a little helpful for you. If some of these have resonated with you, make sure that you smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe to God Can I Hold a Dollar? It would absolutely just give me joy to see that you are subscribed, and I really appreciate the support. Have an amazing, wonderful rest of your week. Have a blessed weekend. If y'all are in the Bay, man, stay cool. We are hitting double and triple digits. Stay cool, stay hydrated, mind your business, and don't worry about nobody else's. All right. God bless y'all. Talk to you soon.